You know that golden telescope we humans built that's taking some mind-blowing pictures of space right now? Well, it turns out it's so powerful, it might have just shattered our understanding of the universe.
Well, a new discovery has many buzzing about the possibilities of just that. An Earth-like planet has been found, and in space terms, it's basically just next door.
That golden eye we sent into the void, the one showing us breathtaking images from the dawn of time. It was built to confirm the story of our creation, a story we've told ourselves for a century. But it's now being whispered in the halls of science that it did the exact opposite. It may have just found proof that our entire understanding of the universe, from the first second of existence until now, is catastrophically wrong. The James Webb Space Telescope was designed to be a time machine, to peer back into the cosmic dawn and witness the birth of the first light. But the transmissions it's sending back are revealing something else. It has found impossible objects hiding in the earliest moments of creation, and their very existence is so shocking it threatens to shatter the foundation of modern science. For decades, the story was simple, elegant, and widely accepted. It began with a banging, infinitely hot, dense point exploding outward, creating space, time, and all matter. This was followed by cosmic dark ages, a period of silent, empty blackness. Then, over hundreds of millions of years, gravity slowly and patiently did its work. It pulled together wisps of gas to form the first stars, which then gathered into small, simple, infant galaxies. This first flicker of light in the darkness was named the cosmic dawn, and the JWST was engineered with one primary mission: to see it. Scientists expected to find faint, chaotic, and small protogalaxies, the cosmic seeds that would one day grow into the giants we see today. But what they found was something else entirely. It was like pointing a camera at a nursery and finding fully grown adults instead of babies, in the deepest, oldest images ever taken. Where only cosmic infants should exist, the telescope found monsters. It discovered galaxies that were shockingly massive, brilliantly bright, and bizarrely mature. These weren't the small, clumpy collections of stars scientists predicted. They were well-structured galaxies, some appearing even larger and more developed than our own Milky Way. And they were dated to a time just 500 to 700 million years after the Big Bang, a cosmic heartbeat in the grand scheme of things. To put that in perspective, this is the equivalent of finding a fully built skyscraper just minutes after the groundbreaking ceremony. According to our established models, there simply was not enough time for these galaxies to form, gather that much mass, or create that many stars. They are cosmic paradoxes. They are objects that, by all rights, should not exist. And yet, there they are, staring back at us from the edge of time. This discovery has sent a shockwave of fear through the world of cosmology. The entire field is built upon a single, elegant framework known as the Lambda CDM model. This is the standard model of cosmology. It explains the Big Bang, the rate of cosmic expansion, the role of dark matter and dark energy, and how structures, like galaxies, are supposed to form. It is the bedrock of everything we know. But these impossible galaxies don't just bend the rules of the Lambda CDM model, they snap them in half. The model is clear. Galaxy formation is a slow bottom-up process. Small things form first, then merge over billions of years to create larger things. The JWST's findings suggest the exact opposite happened. It's as if the universe was born with giants already in it, and this single fact threatens to bring the whole intellectual structure of cosmology crashing down. If the model is wrong about this, then everything it says about our universe might be wrong, too. The first reaction from the scientific community was denial. It had to be a mistake. Perhaps the telescope's infrared instruments were calibrated incorrectly. Maybe astronomers were misinterpreting the light, mistaking dust for stars, or miscalculating the distances. Teams around the world scrambled to reanalyze the data, to find the error that would make everything make sense again. They ran simulations, they checked the light signatures, they recalculated the redshifts. But the terrifying conclusion kept coming back, stronger with each new analysis. The data is real. The impossible objects are there. The problem isn't with the telescope, it's with our understanding of the universe. This has forced scientists to a place they dread the admission that they might be fundamentally wrong about everything. The panic is quiet, but it's palpable. They are facing the collapse of a century of established science. A paradigm shift so profound it redefines our cosmic address. With conventional explanations failing, wild and once dismissed theories are being dragged out into the light. The question is no longer how to fix the old model, but what could possibly replace it. Some reports now claim that the universe could be far, far older than the 13.8 billion years we've always believed. One speculative idea is a cyclical universe, a cosmos that expands, collapses, and is reborn from its own ashes, over and over. In this scenario, these giant galaxies might not be new creations at all, but ancient relics that somehow survived the death of a previous universe and crossed over into ours. It's a chilling thought that we are living among the ruins of a cosmos that came before. Another theory suggests that the laws of physics themselves were different in the early universe, allowing for an accelerated, almost violent rate of galaxy formation that our current science can't explain. But perhaps the most unnerving whispers question if these are galaxies at all. Could they be something else? Some have dared to speculate whether these structures could be evidence of universe-scale engineering. The work of an intelligence so ancient, it predates what we call the beginning. This cosmic mystery also drags another puzzle from the shadows: dark matter. The standard theory relies on something called cold dark matter, a slow-moving, invisible substance that provides the gravitational scaffolding for galaxies to form over billions of years. The slow nature of cold dark matter is essential for the old model to work, but these early galaxies formed far too quickly for a cold dark matter universe. This has forced physicists to reconsider what dark matter is. What if it isn't cold and slow, but behaves in ways that actively accelerate galaxy formation? If dark matter has properties we never imagined, it would not only solve the problem of the impossible galaxies, but it would also shatter our understanding of the very fabric of reality, as this mysterious substance makes up 85% of all matter in the cosmos. We don't just have the wrong story for galaxies, we may have the wrong story for matter itself. This isn't just a crisis for astronomers in labs, it's an identity crisis for all of us. The story of the Big Bang wasn't just a theory, it was our creation myth. It gave us a definitive beginning, a starting point for the human story. It told us we were the products of a long, understandable, and linear chain of events. But now, that story is unraveling. The discovery of these impossible objects erases the certainty we thought we had. If the universe isn't 13.8 billion years old, then how old is it? If it wasn't born in a single event, then how did it begin? This profound uncertainty forces humanity to confront its own cosmic insignificance in a new way. We are not just a speck of dust in a vast universe. We are a speck of dust in a universe whose history, age, and fundamental laws are suddenly unknown. Our entire origin story is now a question mark. The James Webb Space Telescope was meant to be a confirmation. It was supposed to show us our baby pictures, the first light from our cosmic home. Instead, it has become a mirror showing us our own ignorance. It has opened a door that can never be closed again, revealing a universe that is far stranger, more ancient, and infinitely more complex than we ever dared to imagine. We are now adrift in a new ocean of possibility, where the old maps are useless. The foundation of what we thought was solid ground has turned to dust beneath our feet. We looked deep into the night to find our beginning, but we may have found evidence that our beginning was just one moment in a story that has no end, and perhaps had no true start. The telescope remains operational, but the comforting story it was meant to tell is now over. And what replaces it is a terrifying, thrilling, and profound mystery. Their monitors. It carried patterns, rhythms, and frequencies that did not conform to any natural astrophysical phenomena they had catalogued. The signal did not resemble pulsars, quasars, or the cosmic microwave background. It did not behave like emissions from collapsing stars or from black hole accretion disks. Its structure suggested deliberate encoding, and that suggestion alone was enough to send tremors through both the scientific community and the public imagination. If it were natural, it represented a category of astrophysical event that had never before been identified. If it were artificial, it pointed towards something far more profound. The immediate decision to shut down the telescope was not simply a matter of precaution for the machinery, but also a matter of containment. In the vast world of research, a signal of this nature cannot be allowed to become corrupted, misunderstood, or prematurely released. The shutdown ensured that the last transmissions were preserved with utmost integrity. It was also a symbolic act, an acknowledgement that the telescope had stepped into territory beyond its original mission. From the beginning, telescopes have been humanity's eyes into the cosmos, first with glass and metal, then with arrays of radio dishes, and later with orbiting observatories free from atmospheric distortion. Each one has extended the reach of human perception. They were designed to capture light, not voices. Yet, as the data poured in, it felt less like the flicker of distant stars, and more like an intentional whisper across a cosmic asterisk ocean. For the first time, astronomers faced the possibility that they had not only discovered something, but had been discovered in return. The terrifying aspect of the event was not simply the detection of the signal itself, but the questions it raised. If it was an intentional transmission, why now? Why here? Had humanity unknowingly drawn attention to itself through decades of broadcasting radio, television, and radar into the void? The signal's suddenness suggested that it was not a random interception, but a response. Deliberate, timely, and direct. Even the possibility of such intent was enough to provoke a deep unease. For intent implies intelligence, and intelligence implies presence. The shutdown left mission teams in tense anticipation. Engineers combed through the final datasets, decoding, parsing, and reanalyzing every nuance. The structure of the signal remained defiant, refusing to collapse into familiar explanations. Waveforms repeated at intervals that were mathematically elegant, symmetrical in ways nature rarely produces with altruism. Frequencies shifted with precision as though they were part of a code designed to be unraveled. It was not noise. It was not chaos. It was something that seemed carefully composed. The decision to halt operations was also a measure of protection for the scientific process itself. Extraordinary claims demand extraordinary evidence, and the integrity of that evidence must be protected from distortion. By shutting down the telescope, NASA ensured that the data could be secured, reviewed, and validated without interference. Yet, in doing so, they also amplified the atmosphere of mystery surrounding the event. To shut down a telescope immediately after such a detection made clear that this was not routine. As word spread, the implications became impossible to ignore. If the signal was natural, it could reshape humanity's understanding of astrophysics, unlocking new categories of cosmic events and expanding the boundaries of theoretical models. If it was artificial, it would represent the most significant moment in human history. The realization that we are not alone. The sheer weight of these implications is what made the signal terrifying. Discovery on such a scale does not come gently. It disrupts, unsettles, and forces a revaluation of everything thought to be known. In laboratories across the globe, researchers began running simulations, comparing the patterns with known cosmic phenomena. None fit. Astronomers checked for reflections, distortions, and interference that might have created a false reading. None sufficed. This signal's clarity and repetition defied easy dismissal. It was not an accidental anomaly. It persisted crisp and deliberate until the telescope went dark. The very idea of deliberate communication across interstellar distances stirs both awe and dread. Space is vast, cold, and hostile. Yet, the signal pierced it with certainty. To generate such a transmission across unfathomable gulfs would require not only technology, but an understanding of physics that dwarfs current human capability. Whoever or whatever sent it would not simply be advanced. They would be ancient, powerful, and aware. even more unsettling was the timing. Humanity's telescopes have scanned the skies for decades, listening, waiting, and hoping. Why did this moment of all others bring such a detection? The fear was, not only of the sender's existence, but of their intent. Was the signal an invitation, a warning, or a claim of presence? Did it originate from within the Milky Way, or had it traveled across millions of years, arriving now as a ghostly message from a civilization long gone? Scientists know well that signals from space are layered in complexity. Even natural emissions can mimic intentionality when viewed from certain angles. Yet the persistence of the structure was undeniable. It hummed with purpose. Every repeat of the waveform felt like a steady knock at the cosmic door, a call that demanded an answer. To those who studied it, the sense of being observed was inescapable. NASA's decision to power down the telescope also shielded humanity from rash responses. To leave it active might have allowed the signal to evolve, to continue transmitting, in ways that could overwhelm or destabilize both technology and society. By halting it, they imposed a pause, a chance to breathe, to analyze, to consider. The telescope's silence became as heavy as the signal itself, an enforced waiting room between the known and the unknown. The wider implications ripple outward. For decades, philosophers, scientists, and visionaries have speculated on what first contact would mean. Some imagined celebration, others, catastrophe. This event thrust those speculations into urgent reality. The discovery of microbial life on a distant moon would already have been paradigm-shifting. But the detection of an intentional transmission eclipses even that. It challenges religion, politics, science, and culture all at once, binding them in the same question: what lies beyond? Among astronomers, the fear lay not only in the signal's origin, but in the recognition of humanity's vulnerability. Earth is a small, fragile world, and if another intelligence has the means to reach across space with clarity, then it surely has the means to do far more. The signal was not a weapon, but it could be a probe, a test, or a declaration. The terrifying element was not destruction, but uncertainty. Humanity's position in the cosmos had shifted in a moment, from observer to observed, from searcher to subject. The psychological weight of the event is immense. For the first time, humanity has to contend with there's a price for musical immortality, but it's far darker than anyone imagines. For a select few, a chilling pattern has emerged. They are the voices that defined generations, the icons who burned brighter than anyone else, only to be extinguished at the exact same age. Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Kurt Cobain, Amy Winehouse, they all have two things in common. They changed the world with their music, and they never saw their 28th birthday. For decades, their story has been whispered about in hushed tones, referred to as the 27 Club. But, as more names have been added to its roster, a terrifying question has surfaced. Is this just a tragic coincidence, or is it evidence of a curse that stalks genius? The truth is a haunting journey into the shadows of fame, where brilliance and self-destruction dance a fatal tango. The legend began as a series of isolated tragedies, a storm that swept through rock and roll in the late 1960s. It started with Brian Jones, the brilliant but troubled founder of the Rolling Stones, found motionless at the bottom of his swimming pool. Just a year later, Jimi Hendrix, a man who could make a guitar speak in tongues, choked to death in a London flat, the circumstances of his final hours shrouded in conflicting stories. Then, only weeks after Hendrix's death, the raw, powerful voice of Janis Joplin was silenced by an accidental overdose. The final blow came when Jim Morrison, the poetic and self-proclaimed Lizard King, was found dead in a Paris bathtub. The official cause was heart failure, but because no autopsy was ever performed, rumors of a cover-up began to swirl immediately. In the span of just 2 years, 4 of music's brightest stars were gone, all of them 27 years old. The pattern was set, and a dark myth was born. For years, the 27 Club remained a piece of rock folklore, a cautionary tale from a bygone era. But that all changed on a gray Seattle day in 1994. Kurt Cobain, the voice of a generation who had turned teenage angst into a global anthem, was found dead in his home. The official report declared he had taken his own life. But for millions of fans, the story felt incomplete. Immediately, questions and inconsistencies began to surface, fueling a storm of controversy that rages to this day. There were debates over the note he left, questions about the amount of substances in his system, and persistent, unverified claims from individuals who suggested a far more sinister plot was at play. Cobain's death did more than just add the most iconic name to the list. It resurrected the myth and twisted it into something darker. It was no longer just a tragic coincidence. It was now a modern conspiracy. Just as the world began to process the shock of Cobain, the 21st century would offer its own heartbreaking entry. Amy Winehouse was a talent in a league of her own, a voice that seemed to echo from a different era. Her struggles were not a secret. They were public, chronicled in brutal detail by a relentless media that seemed to be counting down the days to her demise. When she was found dead in her London home from alcohol poisoning, there was a grim sense of inevitability. She had spoken about her fear of joining the club, and her death confirmed that the same destructive pressures that haunted the icons of the 60s were still just as deadly in the modern age. Winehouse's passing wasn't a mystery, but a tragedy that unfolded in plain sight, proving that the curse of 27 was as much about the crushing weight of public scrutiny as it was about private demons. When you look past the headlines, a terrifyingly logical pattern begins to emerge. Psychologists have pointed out that the age of 27 is a fragile tipping point. For most people, it's a time of intense life changes, but for a superstar, it's a hurricane. Imagine achieving global fame in your early 20s. You are handed unlimited money, unfettered access, and the adoration of millions before your brain has even fully developed. This is followed by years of relentless touring, creative pressure, and a profound sense of isolation. By 27, the initial thrill has worn off, replaced by exhaustion and disillusionment. It is the moment when many young artists realize that the fame they chased is actually a cage, and the substances they used to cope have become their masters. It is a psychological perfect storm where the human being behind the icon simply begins to break apart. But for many, the idea of a simple burnout isn't enough. The sheer improbability of it all has fueled darker speculations. Whispers in online forums and fringe documentaries speak of a sinister industry secret. It's been said that these artists, upon reaching the peak of their profitability, were somehow disposed of. Some theories suggest these were musicians who were about to expose ugly truths, or who refused to continue playing the game, and were silenced as a result. Others spin tales of a literal deal with the devil, a Faustian bargain for fame and talent. With the bill coming due at 27, these are, of course, stories born from grief. A way for fans to believe that their heroes were taken by a powerful, dark force rather than succumbing to the mundane, brutal realities of addiction and mental illness. Yet, the myth persists because, for some, a conspiracy is more comforting than chaos. However, there is another, more rational explanation, one that strips away the myth and leaves only a cold, statistical reality. Some analysts argue that the 27 Club is nothing more than a product of confirmation bias. We see the pattern because we are looking for it. For every icon who died at 27, there are countless others who passed away at 26, 28, or 32. But their deaths don't fit the narrative, so they are forgotten. The media latched onto the 27 connection because it made for a compelling, mysterious story. We remember the hits and ignore the misses. According to this view, there is no curse, no conspiracy, and no supernatural pattern. There is only a series of unrelated tragedies linked together by our own human need to find meaning in the meaningless. It's a trick of the mind that has created one of the most enduring myths in modern culture. In the end, whether you believe in a curse, a conspiracy, or a coincidence, one truth remains undeniable. The 27 Club represents the profound human cost of our obsession with celebrity. These weren't mythical figures. They were deeply sensitive, often fragile people who were given a gift that ultimately consumed them. The real curse isn't an age, it's an industry that manufactures idols and then stands by and watches as they burn out. We demand authenticity, vulnerability, and pain in our music. But we are often shocked when the artists who provide it end up succumbing to that very same pain. They are casualties of a system that thrives on youthful rebellion but has no idea how to care for the rebels it creates. The music of the 27 Club is eternal. It plays on the radio, in films, and in the headphones of new generations who weren't even alive to witness their genius. But their legacy is forever haunted by a single, chilling question: what more could they have created? Their stories are frozen in time, a permanent monument to lost potential. The club has no clubhouse, no meetings, and no living members. It is just a collection of ghosts, a silent choir of voices extinguished too soon. Their legend serves as a dark and enduring warning that the brightest flames often burn the fastest, leaving the rest of us behind in the cold. Listening to the echoes of what was, and what could have been,